Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Mean Streets powered by FTN right here on Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney here with you. Thanks as always for taking the time to hang out here today. Hopefully everybody's having a fantastic Friday. You're hanging out live here on the Twitter machine, watching on our FTN YouTube page. Please smash that like button if you have any questions throughout this show. Comments, concerns, we'll take them here on Mean Streets. You have any football questions, some starter sit questions, I have a starter sit article live over at ftnfantasy.com. We have Troy hanging out with us already. Will Ehlers ever get on power play number one? Dude, probably not ever. The only time he's ever been on power play one is when Mark Scheifele and Blake Wheeler were sidelined. I don't know. It's okay to have that 1-2 punch. He deserves to be on the first power play unit across the league. I think if you picked 28 teams, he'd be on that number one power play unit. Heck, he'd be on the number one power play unit in Montreal, that's for sure. But the Jets are loaded, right? And so they kind of do a Connor and Ehlers on that second unit lately. So, I mean, it's okay. We'll get to hockey in a little bit. There's only 2 games on the ice today, so it's going to be a light show when it comes to the NHL. Not a lot to talk about. We will kind of sneak peek. I'll give you a couple picks for tonight's games and some props, and then I'll do a little sneak peek depending on where we're at for time to week 7 of the fantasy hockey season. But the article, waiver wire article, will be live over at ftnfantasy.com. Rankings will be updated as well. Mostly NFL here today. We're going to talk a lot about week 11 of the NFL season, some picks and some props. Producer Tino is going to join us in a little bit. He just wrapped up his show with Benny Ricciardi. They went through their favorite picks and some props. Check that show out as well on our YouTube page. Fantastic stuff. Both of those guys studs. So I'm going to pick Tino's brain, see who he's feeling. I got some picks against the spread, some totals, some parlays, some teasers, and some NFL props. I only have 4 NFL props here for you as of now. I'm going to have a whole lot more over at FTN Bet Tracker. It's just, I've noticed over the past couple weeks, I think this is just the time of the season. Everybody's questionable. There's so many injuries. We don't know if guys are going to play this week. And that's just, I mean, books are just slow releasing some of the props. I've seen some receiving yard props, not some catch yard, some reception props. For me, I don't know if you're familiar with the show and you're familiar with my work, I really, obviously I like overs. I have a hard time picking unders. I don't know. I think it's easier to predict overs than unders. Even yesterday, we'll get to yesterday's picks. We talked a lot about on the show about Kyle Pitts and how he wasn't going to be able to do anything against the Pats and that they were going to bracket him and they were going to double him. That's exactly what you saw last night. He was a non-factor. But could I give a Kyle Pitts under receiving yards? No, I couldn't. And I should have, because it's all I talked about here on this show. But I just have a hard time picking unders. So I have a few overs for you. But I really like catch props. I feel like, it's easier to predict targets and volume and opportunity. So I like catch props more than receiving yards. I get behind a couple receiving yard props here and there, especially some big ADOT guys. Certainly it depends on the matchup. And then rushing attempt props. Now that could go sour, but if you can predict the game script or have a little bit of a feel on how you think the game will go, I think you can easier to get behind, rushing attempt props. Especially when there's like some bell cow backs out there, they're going to get a big bulk of the opportunities out of the backfield, which really wasn't the case in New England. We'll get to that now committee, which will be an absolute headache moving forward. I got to give some love to the FTN Bet Tracker as we've been doing all week here. Just not even just the FTN Bet Tracker, just FTN Bets all together. Right now, $49.99 per month is going to get you all the sports. As you see here, this code may not last forever, guys. I would take advantage of it. You can use it each month is what I'm told, so maybe it will last here a couple months, but $49.99 per month, promo code FTNTV, 15% off. You got all the tools as you see there. The player prop models are awesome. Exclusive tools, premium Discord chats across all the sports. That's the biggest thing. Across all of the sports, NBA, NHL, NFL, NASCAR, esports, golf, tennis. It is absolutely all there for you over at ftnbets.com/pricing. Use that promo code FTNTV. And when I say all the sports, it really is beneficial because I kind of got to gloat here a little bit, not too much. I didn't want to post this on Twitter yesterday, but Josh Galacci told me to do it. He's like, why not? It was the best call I've ever had in terms of a future. Shohei Ohtani hit yesterday, MVP, unanimous MVP, 50-1. I wasn't the only one at FTN to have him. Man, Josh Gross he won over 200 units in Major League Baseball this year. 200 units. Are you kidding me? That is fantastic. And he does the same thing in tennis, and he's super sharp when it comes to the NBA and the NFL as well. So that's just an example that you get all the picks from everybody across every sport. And we keep track of everything. But it was pretty cool yesterday to get Shohei Ohtani at 50-1. And unanimous, like I said, just, the first player in a long time to have over 30 home runs and 30 strikeouts. And, he had 156 punch outs and he had 46 bombs. So it was unanimous. I saw some people still tweeting that that Vlad should have been MVP, and Vlad had a really good season. He was phenomenal. If he would have won Triple Crown and maybe the Jays make the postseason, maybe we're talking about it in a different way. But I think, I will call out Sid Sixera a little bit. And it's only because I had the opportunity to meet him a few years ago at the College of Sports Media in Toronto. He gave me the time to sit down, and we were talking back and forth about sports and, his path and my path and, future that I wanted to have here and in sports media. So I'll call him out a little bit, and he doesn't remember me anyways. And let's be honest, he's probably not watching the show. He was the one who tweeted last night and said that he thought that Vlad Guerrero Jr. should have been the MVP because the Jays were playing meaningful baseball in September and that the Angels were well out of it in September. Dude, the Jays didn't make the postseason either. So I don't understand the argument there. Vlad had a really, really good season, but let's just take in what we saw. Forget the MVP odds. It was nice to hit. It was awesome. It was great. And I've had some people reach out and thank me, and congratulations, you got it. That's great. You're not going to hit a lot of futures like this. Ohtani will probably be one of the favorites next year, and I don't know, it's so rare to see what we saw this season. So I think we just take it in, and I don't know what the future holds for Ohtani. Honestly, I feel like he has to pick one of the two. It's pretty cool what he did last season, but you saw him towards the end of this year, really just cool off a bit. Fatigue, the fact that you pitch and then you go into the dugout and then you hit, and I just want him to stay healthy, man. It's really cool to see what we saw. But I'd like to see, more from him. He really is a special talent. He certainly didn't just meet expectations. He shattered them. So it's super cool to see. Congratulations to everybody who hit that. Congrats to Josh Gross. We were both in on Ohtani and Corbin Burns, but he had Burns at 45-1 to win the Cy Young. And like I said, over 200 units. So we will talk some MLB futures a while from now, but hopefully we can hit something again. But I just wanted to give some love to everybody over at FTN and the betting package and all our subscribers who've had hit on a lot of props, and futures as well. I think Bryce Harper, who won MVP yesterday, and I wasn't in on that, that's for sure. He was 30-1 right around August, right? It was a lot of Tatis, and then DeGrom went down, and then Tatis got hurt, and then it was kind of wide open who would get it. But at one point, with about 6-7 weeks left in the season, Bryce Harper was 30-1. So he captures an MVP, and he has 2 MVPs. The only 2 players I think to have multiple MVPs before 30. And I believe Bryce is not 30 yet. Man, should I look this up on the fly? I don't think he is. I'm pretty sure that I saw this stat correctly. Live television is great. He is, he's under 30. He's 29. So, his birthday's on the same day as mine. Cool. You're a lot younger than me. Bryce Harper, the only 2 players to have multiple MVP awards before turning 30, Bryce Harper and Mike Trout, of course. And for the Angels, 4 MVPs in the last 8 years and 1 playoff appearance. That's special. That's tough to do. That's tough to do for sure. One more plug here. One more plug for FTN. I mentioned the betting package. This is free. This is free. If you're looking for picks, of course, you can come to this show. There's multiple shows over at FTN, our YouTube page for free. You can check out. I just mentioned the betting show with Benny Ricciardi and Tino Rodriguez. But FTN free picks, DFS picks over at FTNdaily.com. This is something that we're doing that is just new. We're calling it just DFS picks at the top of the tab of FTNdaily.com. But they're free picks. Jock Market, Prize Picks, Thrive Fantasy, Top Pro, Monkey Knife Fight, Underdog, some partners that we have. Use the promo code FTN. So we're giving picks every day, everybody over at FTN. This is something that we want to do. We want to show off some of these partners that we have and the edges that we have as well. And perfect yesterday. I can't speak for anybody else. I'm sure that a lot of people were perfect as well. Yes, I do see that. Matthew Friedman getting it done. 2-1 yesterday, positive units. So what we do is we'll just go in there and we'll give our picks. Again, you can check it out for free. Yesterday, Damian Harris over 46.5 rushing yards. Kendrick Bourne over 29.5 receiving yards. It's a 2-pick power play. You get both of those right. It's double up your money. You could go 3. You could go 4 if you want. And, if you went 4, that would make it like 4-1. But you could also do some flex plays, which is just get 3 for 4. How many times do you do a parlay where you get 3 for 4? I see it all the time. I see screenshots. I see it in the Discord channel. I see my buddies. Oh my goodness, I went 3 for 4 again last night. I went 4 for 5. Well, Prize Picks offers power play and flex play. So power play, you have to go perfect, but you can pick 2. You got to pick at least 2. But the flex play is awesome. I mean, it's kind of like a hedge life. It's you could pick 5 and you go 4 for 5 and you win some money. You can go 2 for 3 and win some money. And I think that's super beneficial. And Prize Picks is my favorite. I'm nothing against all like the other partners. I think they're all great. But Prize Picks, I really like that 3 for 4 or 4 for 5. So make sure you use the promo code FTN. That'll get you a 100% first deposit match of up to $100 for new users. And if you're already signed up, refer a friend, and it's a free $25 in your Prize Picks account. We will have multiple Prize Picks videos. We do it every day over at ftndaily.com and our YouTube page. And you can mix and match across all the sports that you love. You can take one hockey play, you can take one NFL play, and one NBA play. And we will talk some NBA towards the end of the show as well. Maybe I'll take a look at the Prize Picks, what they have to offer here tonight in the NHL, and a little bit later on the show when we talk a little NFL. We will continue the NFL talk. We'll get to it right after this break. We're going to recap last night's game. There's not really a lot to talk about from last night, but we will recap it. We'll talk about some injuries as well, and we'll take a look at some start and sits. Keep your lock. Mean Streets continues here on Game Plus Network. Welcome back to Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney here with you again. You're hanging out here in the YouTube section, or if you're watching the replay live over at FTN Bets, or I guess it wouldn't be live, the recap of this show over at FTN Bets or FTNFantasy.com. Leave a question there, a starter sit question. I'll get to it before kickoff. I'll always circle back here and take care of any questions if you do have them. And I would love to hear of some questions as well. It's on a Friday. Let's have a little casual Friday. Let's answer some questions, start and sit. But before we do any of that, let's recap yesterday. We always hold ourselves accountable with picks that we'll get wrong, and we've gotten wrong. But yesterday was pretty good in terms of just the NFL picks that we gave for Thursday night. So we had the Pats. They covered the spread at 6.5. We had the under. That happened. We had there it is, the board. We had Mac Jones under 251 passing yards. 251.5 hit that. Kendrick Bourne didn't look like we were going to get that. Honestly, he had, he did have 4 grabs. He had 3 for like 22, I think, and then he just got over the receiving yards towards the end. Hunter Henry is not going to score a touchdown every game. That was a sucker bet. And then Zacchaeus over 2.5 receptions. So overall, it was a pretty good day, but it was an awful day for the Atlanta Falcons. It was a 25-0 win for New England, and the Pats have all of a sudden won 5 straight games since starting the season 2-4. They haven't allowed a point over their last 7 quarters, and the Falcons haven't scored a point over their last 7 quarters. Atlanta was very much in the playoff race 2 weeks ago, and now I think they've been outscored like 70-something to 0 over the last 7 quarters in the NFL. So, I mean, not great. The Falcons did not look good. Matthew Judon, man, he's having a heck of a season. The Pats spent a lot of money in the offseason, and that's got to be one of the better free agent signings to date. 10.5 sacks on the season, career high for him. So the defense, as I mentioned, pretty strong. I have some of these stats that I mentioned yesterday. So over the last 4 weeks, heading into yesterday, they were 4-0 straight up, or against the spread. That was number 1 in the NFL, so you can make it 5-0. 37.5 points per game, which was number 1. So downtick a little bit with the 25 points. It did struggle a little bit in the red zone. Folk made a bunch of field goals, and of course, I'm going up against him all over the place in fantasy. And the Pats defense had 28 fantasy points. You know I'm going up against them in a couple spots. I do have them in 1 or 2 spots. I was pretty happy with their showing. Offensive points per game, 12.4, which was 4th best mark in the NFL. So clearly that number is coming down. And then the point differential plus 25, you can add another 25. That was the average for them over the last 4 weeks as well. So, I mean, the defense is playing really good. 4 of the last 5 opponents they've faced under 300 yards passing, under 14 points against. And then also just the defense over the last 3 games, 1 touchdown allowed and 2 touchdowns themselves. Belichick 24-4 against first-year coaches since 2010. So the Pats look good. They look really good. I was like, maybe they took a year off last year. I think a lot of us took a year off or wanted to take a year off. But, you know, they spent a lot of money in the offseason. The defense looks legit. And, you know, Mac Jones looks really good. I mean, he made a mistake on the pick. He made a beautiful throw just before that. But he looks calm, poised. He just clearly a lot of people are talking about, hey, he's the most ready quarterback coming out of the draft. And clearly, I mean, that's the case, right? Do I think the Jags messed up, you know, taking Trevor Lawrence? No. I've joked with a couple buddies, Clemson buddies, that they did. But I don't think that that's the case. I don't know if we can close the book on Zach Wilson. I do like Justin Fields, but man, there were 14 teams that passed on Mac Jones. There were 14 teams. Would he be this good in Denver? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. It's certainly set up the way that they play offense in New England, run the football. Man, how about Jakob Johnson? Like that fullback, like he just paves waves for dudes. I mean, anytime he's in there, he's just lanes are open for these guys, Damian Harris and for Ramondre Stevenson. We'll get into their games in a little bit, but this is a team that runs the football really well. The offensive line is great. That they get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. The defense is playing really, really good. And Mac Jones is, you know, people are talking about him just being like a game manager. I don't think we can say that just now. I mean, he's only had a handful of starts. I think he continues to get better and he continues to play with confidence, and maybe they open up the playbook a little bit more. I like what I've seen from New England. Now, they got 2 games coming up against the Bills. We'll see how they do against Buffalo. But if I was Buffalo, I would be a little nervous about New England right now. And I asked the Bills buddy last night if he was, and he said he's not nervous at all, not in one bit. I don't know if he's being cocky. I just don't. Maybe, but I would be nervous about New England. For one, their defense is awesome. Buffalo's defense is good too, but Buffalo doesn't have a run game, and that concerns me. It really does concern me. We'll talk about the Bills and the Colts in a little bit. That should be a phenomenal matchup this week. I wanted to touch on a couple takeaways from the game yesterday. So Mac Jones, 22 for 26, 207 yards. So again, 4 straight games he hasn't gone over the 250, which was the prop from yesterday. If you go look at the games where they've just blown out teams, I mean, he's not throwing the football, right? We just talked about what New England loves to do. They like to run the rock. They play good defense. And Mac Jones is just not a guy that's dropping back and throwing the ball over 30 times. I mean, you can count the games on one hand where he's done that. So I would always consider the under on his passing yard prop. I guess depends on the matchup, but they're blowing teams out right now and they're running the rock. Stevenson, 12 for 69. Nice. 1 catch. Damian Harris, 10 for 56. So, man, committee. It really was. It looked like the Denver Broncos, right? With Javonte Williams and then Melvin Gordon. It looked like you take a series and then I'll take a series and you take one and then I'll take one. But towards the end of the game, it was a lot more of Ramondre Stevenson. I thought that that's how it was going. It was going series for series, series for series. I thought Stevenson looked better, but also Damian Harris had some great runs again behind Jakob Johnson. But Stevenson looked more agile. He looks like the guy with more upside. I think he's the guy that I'm going to rank ahead of Damian Harris. But when they got in the red zone, Harris was the guy who was getting the work, you know, and I feel like he probably is the goal line back. So there is a lot of value in having, you know, in maybe ranking Harris ahead of Ramondre, but I do believe Ramondre has a higher ceiling. I think this is going to be a full-on committee the rest of the way. I think it's going to be a headache. And if you have either of these guys, I think you can only view them as flex plays, maybe upside to be a low-end RB2 depends on the matchup. But, you know, if yesterday was any sign of what's to come here, it does look like it's going to be a bit of a committee there. Kendrick Bourne led the way again. Shout out to Tino. I talked about him this week. saying he was trending up, and I think he picked him up in a league. I mean, not fantastic numbers, but he did lead the way with 42 yards, 4 targets, 4 grabs. Aguilar had the lone touchdown, 40 yards on 5 catches. He had 5 targets. Jacoby Myers, again, we talked about selling high on this guy. 6 targets, 4 grabs, 39 receiving yards. Just, I don't know, you can't, I mean, your window of opportunity, I think, to sell him is gone, but people seem to like that guy. Henry doesn't do a whole lot. 3 targets, 2 grabs, 25 yards. Matt Ryan does nothing. 19 for 28, 2 picks, $153. Josh Rosen came in and threw a pick. And this is where things just got out of control. I mean, they couldn't run the rock anyways, but Quadre Olesen, right? What? 9 for 34. He leads the way in terms of snaps at 26. Mike Davis also had 26, but Mike Davis gave you exactly what he's been giving you all year. Nothing. 1 yard on 3 carries. Wayne Gallman, 1 carry for -3 yards. I really thought Wayne Gallman would get more run. I mean, no Cordero Patterson. What's the deal? Like, why couldn't they give Wayne Gallman a little bit more run? Did you see when they went for it? It was that was kind of the turning point. I mean, they really weren't getting anything done on offense. Maybe the turning point would have been Matt Ryan taking a brutal sack. Where have you seen that before? But there was a play in the red zone where they were like 3rd and 1. They went for it and it was stuffed, and they went for it again on 4th and 1. And like, the running back is like 8 or 9 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and they handed it off. Like, it was such a weird call. I really felt for Matt Ryan. It's hard to blame him for everything that's gone on over the past couple weeks. The offensive line is not great. They drafted Kyle Pitts, 4th overall. I'm sure they're not going to regret that, but they needed a lot of pieces. They needed some offensive line help. They could have looked at a quarterback. I don't know about this class. So anyways, everybody in Atlanta is just dead to you, except for Cordero until he comes up and he gets back in the lineup. But everybody else, I mean, Gage goes 8 targets, 5 grabs, 49 yards. Pitts, 3 grabs on 5 targets for 29 yards. And the Zacchaeus, as we mentioned, 23 yards for 3 catches. I don't think there's anybody in Atlanta that you want on your roster besides Cordero Patterson and Kyle Pitts. And we talked about selling Pitts because you saw it yesterday. It's not just New England. They do a great job of taking away the opponent's best players. We talk about that. You've heard it so many times when it comes to New England and Bill Belichick. But I've seen it personally now watching these Falcons games ever since Calvin Ridley's been gone. Like, teams are just doubling him. They're bracketing him. It's tough. That's why we talked on this show about selling Kyle Pitts and rolling with a Dan Arnold or rolling with a Pat Freiermuth or a Hunter Henry. I know he didn't do anything yesterday, but you could probably get 2 pieces for Kyle Pitts. You could maybe get an RB2. You could get a flex play. It's probably not possible now, but he still has big name value. He's a terrific player and he's going to have a great career. But in a redraft standpoint, for the rest of the way, I don't really like what I've seen, and I don't think I'm going to like what I'm going to see either. I don't know how it's going to change. Injuries here quickly. Dan Campbell says Tim Boyle is ready to start, so that means you should be ready to start Cleveland's defense this week. Lamar Jackson back at practice. Nick Chubb activated, expected to return here. Alex Collins didn't practice yesterday due to a groin injury, so I don't know. This could be a full-on committee, absolute mess. Penny, Dallas, Homer. I don't know. I think I would lean with Penny, but oh, man, I don't think you can start any of these guys. Elijah Mitchell's sidelined again. He has the fractured finger. There were some reports out of San Fran that he will play. We're not catching any balls, but maybe he could carry the ball. We've seen backs before. I think DeMarco Murray comes to mind. He's a guy that had like the cast on his hand, and he was still carrying a couple footballs. Not as much as he used to that year with Dallas. I mean, he was getting the rock like 20 times per game, but he was still active and touching the football. Allen Robinson didn't practice yesterday. Hamstring injury. That's tough. Bears just had a bye week. I think this popped up early in the week, so tough go for Allen Robinson. But Darnell Mooney, he's probably hanging around waiver wires. Cole Kmet, this guy I like as well. Chase Claypool limited, he could return this week. Gronk full practice yesterday. Saquon limited. Like to get Tino's thoughts on if he's going to play. Today's a big day for Saquon and everybody. Shepard was sidelined yesterday. Kadarius Toney and Kenny Golladay look like they're good to go, and Alvin Kamara no practice this week, so it does look like Mark Ingram will have that backfield to himself again this week with the matchup against the Eagles. And then Antonio Brown is nowhere close and also reports that he had a fake COVID passport. So just when you thought AB, I was thinking last week too, I was like, man, AB with the Bucs, he hasn't really gotten into a lot of trouble. He's been good. He's scoring touchdowns. Haven't really heard anything from him after a couple years ago when we heard like multiple things when he signed with the Raiders, Buffalo, and the feet thing and everything that was happening. The video that he gave to Gruden, I mean, just nonsense. And now here he is with the COVID passport, reportedly a fake COVID passport. So who knows? I mean, if you have AB, I mean, health-wise, he may not be on the field again, or I don't know. I don't know what to say. You may not have AB again at all. Dallas Goedert good to go and just signed a contract, a 4-year extension worth $59 million, 35 guaranteed, according to Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network. All right, we're gonna break again. We're gonna bring in Tino. We're gonna talk some NFL picks, Week 11. I also have some props, and we'll get to some NHL picks a little bit later on as well. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. You see there, Tino Rodriguez _ Chris Meaney here with you. Dude, this just came down. Are you in the FTN ESPN league? Are you in that one? I don't know if you are.
No, not in the ESPN league, but I am in the Yahoo league,
You're,
and
you're in the
I'm
Yahoo
struggling.
one.
I'm struggling, but we're doing all right.
It's been a tough year. I'm struggling too. I'm playing Jills, who's I believe he's 9-1. And I think I'm going to crush him this week because he got Pat's D against him, and I'm off to a pretty good start. So we'll see. I know a couple people are looking for him to lose. Just saw a trade that came through on one of our ESPN leagues. It was Chris Carson for Van Jefferson, straight up. Interesting.
Bold strategy, Con. Well, the thing is, I don't know. It depends what you need right now. No, well, it's the trade deadline for a lot of teams, or in a lot of leagues. So I'd imagine you're just trying to get any last minute trades off. If you need running back depth, that's a great trade. And if you need to start someone maybe this week, I think that's a solid trade too in terms of getting Van Jefferson. 1-for-1 though, I mean, over a massive body of work, not a great optics trade there, but hey, dude, people have needs. I don't know who needs what in that trade, but Chris Carson hasn't been on the field, right? So best ability is availability. So, if it's a deeper league, it makes sense.
It is a deeper league. It's 14. I'm just kind of trying to see who made the deal. Nonetheless, I mean, I haven't heard anything on Chris Carson. Like, I just don't know. Like, is this guy going to play again this year? I mean, geez, that's a pretty big risk that whoever's trading Carson, and it's a great get. I mean, you get Van Jefferson. I think that's a pretty good get. All right, what do you think of last night's game? I mean, just kind of how we drew it up, right? I mean, Falcons can't do anything. No points on offense, and New England running the rock. Man, pass it good.
Well, you were mentioning it earlier that you struggle to bet unders, and so the overwhelming theme of the NFL over the last at least month, if not the entire season, is away teams and unders, and I just cannot get myself to not bet home dogs and overs. So it's like it's a never-ending cycle of me trying to battle myself and tell myself not to do that, but. Yeah, man, I think we alluded to it on the show with Benny and myself last night that it was exactly that. I think those are the right place to make. It's hard. The gambler inside of you doesn't want to bet that under and doesn't like you want to root for good football. You want to root for exciting football. What do I make of yesterday? It was an ugly game. There was one touchdown. I mean, there's on Kendrick Bourne touchdown and Nelson Aguilar got the only one. So it's like, the defense scored for the Patriots, but other than that, uneventful, man. Brutal Thursday night. We got blessed earlier this season, Meaney. We had a string of really good primetime Thursday games, and then as of late, oh, man, not good. Not good. Last night was not quality football.
No, it really wasn't. Do you believe in this New England team? Do you believe in them? Like, if they were to play the Bills in the playoffs, could they give them a go?
Oh, I'm betting the under in that game for sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't – do you want to know what it is? It's you're betting on Belichick in that defense, and they look good. The pass rush is getting there. Judon was all over the place yesterday. J.C. Jackson is a corner that I've even underrated, and I think is in the tops of the league right now. Not only in terms of the Trayvon Diggs stats of getting interceptions, but just playmaking ability. And you saw him all over the field yesterday, lining up on pits, lining up outside. Guy's really good. So in terms of that, and then Mac Jones, one interception yesterday, but takes care of the ball. Like he plays quarterback to where Bill Belichick can put this team into a position to win. So from that aspect, man, I mean, they go out there and they can beat anyone at any given time. It's really any Sunday they can show up. I don't think their talent is overwhelming, and so I think a better team from the top can beat them. But again, as long as Mac takes care of the ball, I think they'll be in every game they play.
So they got Tennessee next week. That's going to be a big one. Then they got at Buffalo week 13, then the bye. Then at the Colts week 15, which will be another big one, especially if Indy finds a way to beat Buffalo this week. And then they'll have the Bills again week 16 before wrapping it up with two easy matchups against the Jags and Miami. So I view them as at least a 9-win team here, depending on what happens here in the next couple weeks with some of those tougher matchups. They can get into double digits. Before we get to the picks, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Would Mac Jones be this good anywhere else? And did 14 other teams mess up here?
Can I actually throw even a bigger wrench into this? Can the Patriots win the AFC East? Because I just needed to look at the record. Live TV,
if they beat the Bills,
7-4, 6-3. I'm just saying, you're talking about the stretch. I mean, 9-win team, 10-win team. I know that would mean the Bills don't get to their over win total, but so Mac Jones, it's crazy. Teams didn't make a mistake, but it's really insane how on paper everyone's like he is the perfect fit for the Pats. Exactly what Belichick wants, and it's not like we didn't see it coming, but like you can really see when coaches have a guy that they want to fit their schemes, how they can thrive, and how other players, if they're not in the right situations, can't necessarily find that same success. Justin Fields is a great example over the last couple of weeks. Sure, yeah, I mean, he's starting to put it together, but you can't say that with confidence because any given week you don't know what this offense is going to hold and what Matt Nagy's going to do. And like in terms of Mac Jones, it's not all on him, and because it's not all on him, even though they don't have these luxurious pieces around him, by how they play football in New England, he can thrive and he can look really good, even if his numbers aren't padded and, just looking luxurious. I mean, he has running backs taking a lot of the brunt end of the load and he can feast off play action. And, dude, situation matters. But I did want to throw that out there. The Patriots, for what it's worth, could win the AFC East. And I think that would be crazy.
It really would be. Yeah, I don't think anybody saw. Certainly, I did not see that coming. I thought that they would be a playoff team. I thought that they would hang. I did pick them on my own pool as a wild card team, but never thought that they would be this good. At least I didn't think Mac Jones would be this great. I thought the defense, they were missing a lot of guys due to COVID last year, the guys that opted out, and then they spent a lot of free agent, a lot of money on Johnny Smith, who really hasn't given them a whole lot. But other guys like Judon have really stepped up and been something. But yeah, I'm looking at Buffalo here. So they got the Colts this week, and then in New Orleans, which is not going to be an easy matchup, even though the Saints haven't looked that great over the past couple weeks. Then they got New England. Then they have to go into Tampa, week 14. Then they're going to have Carolina. Then they have New England. And then, again, two softies in week 17 and 18. But those two games against each other is going to be everything for that division.
Well, and then also, let's put it this way. So I believe... Okay, so the bye is going to be in between the Bills games. So I knew the Patriots bye was coming up somewhere in there. So extra day to plan in terms of playing the Bills their first time in Buffalo. They'll get them on Monday night. Then they have a bye. Then they go into Indy in a big game. I can say that the Colts are a quality team. They're not the best team, but going into Indy won't be easy. And then they go home to Buffalo. But they also have two softies at the end of the schedule too, in Jacksonville and Miami. I mean, to your point, I guess Tennessee is going to be a bigger game than meets the eye, because if they can beat Tennessee, it takes a little pressure off them to beat Buffalo twice. But I mean, again, it comes out of those two games. That's the division right there. So, I mean, down the stretch here, we're going to get a good Monday night game in 2 weeks. I think, win or loss against Tennessee, we're going to get a really good Monday night game.
Yeah, we really will. All right, let's break one more time. We'll have you come back. We'll break, and then we'll come back. I got some picks. I want to know where I'm wrong. I want to know maybe where you think I'm wrong, but also maybe we're on the same page somewhere as well. So NFL picks to come here on Mean Streets. Keep her locked. Welcome back to Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney, Tino Rodriguez here with you. Tino, I got some NFL picks. Let's bring them up. This is kind of what I'm thinking here for this weekend, and then you can tell me if we're on the same page, if you're against me here. So I think that this Buffalo and Colts game, I think it's gonna be pretty tight, man. When these two teams played in the playoffs, it was super tight, and Phillip Rivers was the quarterback. I get a little bit more respect for Carson Wentz. I like the way that this Colts defense is playing. I know that they've allowed the most passing touchdowns. I understand all of that, but listen, this Buffalo team is one-dimensional right now. You're not going to be able to run on Indy anyways, so I think this is going to be a tighter game. I think it's going to be a field goal game, actually. You could tease up the Colts if you wanted to, but I think +7 is fine here. And I got your Giants. 11 points is just a lot. The G-Men coming off a bye. Tampa's dealing with a lot of injuries. We just saw them last week struggle against Washington. They've actually struggled against the NFC East. I know that they beat the Eagles, but really that game was a lot tighter. And then Washington, of course, I thought played them pretty well. I think the Giants can play them pretty tight too. Get your thoughts in a sec here. San Fran 6.5, which is weird for me because I don't know if I've ever given you guys San Fran on a show here before, but honestly, this is more about the Jags. The Jags can't do anything offensively. We saw the Niners at full health last week on offense. Maybe they're riding high here against the Rams, but ultimately it is the defense. I just don't think Jacksonville will do their part. I think it's going to be an ugly game. Maybe we get like 21-7, 21-10, or maybe even like a 17-7 sort of game. I just don't think Jacksonville will do a whole lot. Moneyline bets. I love the Bengals coming off the bye. Now, you could take Bengals at -1 for better odds if you wanted to, but I just gave 3 spreads and 3 moneyline plays. Clearly, the best bet would be the Bengals -1, and then you can get that at -105, so almost even money, so better bang for your buck there. But I like them to win this game coming off the bye. I think the Raiders are just in shambles right now. Dallas, I think that they're the better team, more complete. This should be an awesome game here between both quarterbacks and Dak and Mahomes. We'll talk about that in a second here, Tino. I like the Packers to beat the Vikings. I just can't trust Minnesota. They do win games where you kind of count them out. When they should win, they lose. But I like Green Bay. Ultimately, I think they're the better squad, even without Aaron Jones. And then 3 unders here. Are you kidding me? I don't like unders, but I got 3 of them. I just don't think we'll see a lot of offense in those first 2 games. And I think it's going to be a grind, man. A defensive grind, offensive struggle between the Colts and the Bills. And you got the parlay there. Green Bay, Baltimore, San Fran, and the Chargers. And then the teaser at +450. Baltimore just to win. Green Bay not to lose by more than 3. The Saints not to lose by a touchdown. And then we have San Fran by 2 and Dallas not to lose by a touchdown. What do you think of that board? What do you like? What do you dislike?
A lot to unpack. We'll start from the back end there. Dallas +7. They are a part of my teaser this week. My 2-team teaser is Dallas +8.5 at the 6-point teaser, and the Giants +17. And that's just a non-biased take there. Dallas, infamously one of the best teams against the spread in the NFL this season. They are second best. And then the Giants, they are 5-4, staying afloat against the Bucks, who are just not good against the spread. One of the worst teams in the league, bottom 5, if I'm not mistaken, 3-6. Against the spread. They can't play against the NFC East. Also, I threw up that video on Instagram yesterday. Follow me at Steven Rodriguez _ nice little plug there. But it's very funny, the fun little tidbits there. And it is a running joke as a Giant fan. But Daniel Jones 1-0 in Tampa Bay. He made his debut there. Exciting comeback for them. Now, granted, that's the Jameis Winston Bucks. But they played the Bucks last year and played them close. In a game, Daniel Jones did not play well in 2 interceptions in that game. And still managed to only lose by 2, covered that spread. And the Giants coming off a bye on the road, the Bucks, in a get-back situation. But +11 was too much. If you get them in a teaser 17, I think it's great. I'm on the Bengals. Love the Bengals off a bye. I don't know why this line's that close. These 2 teams are very hot and cold. I get it from that perspective, but it doesn't really make sense. The Bengals are days ahead of the Raiders, in my opinion. We have a few other things on there. And a
big game, eh? That's a big game, by the way. That Raiders and Cincy game, I mean, it's huge. I think they're both 5-4. The loser is done. They're out. They're going to be out of the wild card spot, especially with the Pats playing so good. Carry on.
Yep. And then you didn't mention it. I'm on the Eagles against the Saints. That we love. I like the Colts +7 to your point, and I definitely play towards the under. The Packers is the one game that I can't really understand, and I understand Aaron Jones is out, but why is the line so low? Why? I don't know why this is close to a pick 'em. Now, I get it. So, I think the public dog is going to be the Vikings for whatever reason. People love to overhype the Vikings. I know they're coming off, they might have blown their load of beating the Chargers on the road there, but the Packers are the best team against the spread, in my opinion, because they have 1 loss against the spread in week 1 with Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback. And other than that, it hasn't even been close, regardless what the spread is. So with this being a pick 'em, give me Aaron Rodgers all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. Like it's not even a debate. I did want to throw some player props in there for you just so we can have some fun here. And I know you're going to have some props in here as well. But in that Colts Bills game, I love Dawson Knox to score a touchdown. I think this is my favorite play of the week, actually. He didn't have to do much. He returned last week against the Jets. They beat them so bad. Josh Allen didn't even need to play. The defensive Josh Allen could have been quarterback, and they still would have won by 40. So Dawson Knox didn't have to do much in his first game back, but infamously had 5 touchdowns in 6 games, was Josh Allen's go-to guy in the red zone. A very tight game. I think Josh Allen is going to want to overdo it, and he's going to go to his security blankets and, the dudes he trusts, and he trusts Dawson Knox when it gets down to the red zone. 5 touchdowns on the year, like I mentioned, plus 220 is the odds at DraftKings. So I feel really good at that at 2-1 on your money. And then I'm also going to bet Justin Fields plus 260 to score a rushing touchdown. Ooh. I think both these quarterbacks are going to score rushing touchdowns. I just want to bet on Justin Fields because, God, he's exciting to watch. And his only rushing touchdown in the last 3 weeks has been on that huge scramble play against San Francisco. Maybe if they set up design runs in the red zone for him, he won't have to work as hard for it.
Right.
Plus 260 is juicy money for a guy who's been getting 8 carries a game over the last 3 and has had 6 or more carries over the last 4. So I think he's going to have opportunities. If they give him those looks in the red zone, I think this is a lock. If they don't, I trust in the guy to make plays with his legs even outside the red zone to maybe get in that end zone and score for the Chicago Bears.
I actually really think he's in for a decent game. I don't have him ranked as a top 12 quarterback, but man, Superflex, I'm kind of interested in him in DFS as well, especially if Lamar pushes the pace and they score some points. Mm-hmm. We may see him throw the ball a little bit more, and that last drive against the Steelers I thought was phenomenal. Let's bring up the rest of the props. We'll kind of piggyback and transition in from the Fields touchdown.
And look
at
that face. Yes. Look at that smiling face.
Look, he is ready to go. That's plus money, by the way, over 7.5 rushing attempts. He's had 8, 10, and 8 over his last 3 games. To your point, more design runs inside this offense. Nagy's starting to feel it a little bit. Hunter Renfro, 5.5 receptions. That's also plus money. He has at least 7 in 3 straight games. He has been a target hog, and a lot of teams are focusing in on Darren Waller with Ruggs no longer a part of the team, and it looks like Hunter Renfro is Derek Carr's guy. And credit to you, man. I think you said this after week 2. Why is Hunter Renfro hanging around all these waiver wires? He's still only owned in 70% of leagues, and he gives you double-digit fantasy points week in and week out. Tyreek Hill leads the NFL in targets since week 5, 73. He's second overall behind Cooper Kupp. I'll always take him at 6.5 grabs. He had 7 in his last game. He's had double-digit catches in 3 games this season. He's had at least 7 in 6 games this season as well. I think it's a 56 point total here. They move them all over the field. I think we'll see a lot of offense in this game. And then Brennan Cooks, he's had 6 catches in back-to-back games. Tyrod Taylor back behind under center is good for Cooks' game. He's always been among the leaders in targets, air yards, target share. He's up at the top. Use our free tools over at ftndaily.com to see that sort of stuff. But this is a guy who is a big part of the offense and really the only guy that I think you can really trust in Houston to rack up some targets.
I do got to make the joke. Hunter Renfro, not liked since college based on appearance. People just don't believe he's a receiver still. I actually think that's why. You look at him,
he's a good one.
They're like, this guy's an NFL receiver. He scored the game-winning touchdown in a national championship, one of the best ones ever for Clemson, and still no credit. The guy just gets disrespected, Meaney.
I know. We got a break because I want to give you some time for NBA picks, and I got some NHL stuff here. I mean, there's only 2 games, but this is Hunter Renfro, his game log this season. Just quickly, this guy, I mean, he may be just like an underrated MVP this season. So 6 for 70, 5 for 57, 5 for 77 and a touch, 6 for 45 and a touchdown, 6 for 56, 3 for 36 was his down game against the Broncos, 7 for 58, follow that up, 7 for 49 and a touchdown, 7 for 49 and a touchdown. This guy has had at least 9 fantasy points in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games, and that's a half-point setting. And we've been talking about him as a great flex play for weeks now, and now only people are starting to pick him up and roll him out. I think he's a wide receiver too, the rest of the way. I really do think that way. All right, we got a break, get some NHL stuff, and then Tino will join us to wrap up the show. We'll have some NBA talk as well. Keep it locked. Whoa, here we go. Welcome back to Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. Smokey the cat, he is hanging out. Dude, we'll get to those questions, start to say questions here in just a little bit. Cambo says, Crosby and Boone Jenner, anytime goal scorer. Thank you, Meaney. Congrats. Yeah, Boone Jenner was great yesterday. I think he had the hat trick. I believe they may have taken one goal away from him, but the shot props are plus money. Boone Jenner's a guy that I kind of just like recently was like, oh man, this guy's really shooting the puck and get a lot of ice time. I think we got to continue to hammer Jenner when the Blue Jackets are on the schedule. I think we'll probably get plus money for the next couple weeks too from a shot prop standpoint. All right, 2 games on the ice today. This is what I'm thinking from, a picks and a shot prop standpoint. So it's pretty light, really light. There's not a lot of avenues to go here. The Jets are on the second half of a back-to-back, which is really, really tough. And, the Canucks have just lost a lot of games, and you feel like maybe this is a spot where they could get right here today. But I don't know, man. I just don't think so. They've lost 5 games in a row. They've lost 6 of 7. They only have 2 wins since October 26th. Like, this is not a good hockey team right now. There needs to be a change. I'm just not going to ride with them. I don't want to put money on them. I don't want to overthink and say, oh, this is the second half of back-to-back. They're at home here waiting for the Jets. They're not going to get Hellebuck. I don't care about any of that. I got to go with the better team in Winnipeg. Same deal here with Colorado. Got to go with the better team. I'm going to take the under. Seattle's just not scoring a lot of goals. Grubauer hasn't looked great this season, but maybe he steps it up against his former team just to get to that under 6. But I do believe Colorado we'll find a way to get it done. And then these 2 shot prop guys in Nazem Kadri and Pierre-Luc Dubois. For Kadri, man, he's having a heck of a season. He's got points now in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight games. In 3 of those 7 games, he's had at least 3 points. 5 goals and 12 assists on the season. He had 5 shots on goal in his last game. He's had at least 4 in 3 of his past 4 games as well. He's getting more ice time with Nathan McKinnon sidelined. 20:48 is what he played in his last game and 19:40 in his previous game. And then for Pierre-Luc Dubois, not breaking any news here. If you've been following along, I am absolutely obsessed with the way that this guy is playing hockey yesterday. And we got lucky to get it yesterday. Not going to lie. He got his 3rd shot in overtime. But this is a guy who has cleared 2.5 shots in 5 straight games. He's got 50 shots in the season, 9 goals and 6 assists. He and Kyle Connor look unreal, and they're just getting a lot of opportunities. Kyle Connor has 19 shots on goal in his last 2 games, 19 shots, and Pierre-Luc Dubois has 8 over that span. These guys are putting a lot of pucks towards the net. They have clearly have chemistry together, and they look really, really good. We only got about 1 more segment here, so we got a break, and we will talk a little NBA with Tino next. So don't go anywhere. Mean Streets continues here on Game Plus Network. All right, welcome back in. Hello again, Mr. Tino Rodriguez. Let's answer this question. You got an NBA pick. You get that NBA pick here on the way out. We got about a couple minutes here. So Smokey the Cat, Flex 1, Bateman, Gallup, Deontay Foreman, or Pollard. Man, I really like Foreman this week, but I think it's a little risky. I would play him over any other Titans running back. I like Bateman there. I'm going to go with Bateman. He's trending up inside this offense. He looks pretty good lately. And then rest of the season, Elijah Moore or Tony. That may be a question for you. I kind of lean Tony, man, with the poor quarterback play in New York. Who knows? Elijah Moore is still playing behind guys like Crowder and Corey Davis. And then Wilson or Tua this week. I would roll with Russell. I know it's a tough spot against Arizona. Tua's in a better matchup against the Jets, but I'd roll with the better quarterback, the higher ceiling in Russell Wilson. What do you think, Tua? Or what do you think, Elijah or Tony?
Well, if it's Russell Wilson, not live.
It's got to be.
Look at that, the echo. Of course, we were about to end perfectly, and first technical error there in the final minutes of the show. Yeah, it has to be Russell, but I just had to make the joke, even though Joe Flacco's starting for the Jets this week. So yeah, I think you go with Russ, and then Tony rest of the season, Elijah Moore this week. Let's also roll back. I have Bateman versus Foreman as a flex decision myself, and I started with Bateman. I actually switched to Foreman last week only because of the Texans revenge game. That's all I have. Do we want to just cram an NBA here? Do you want me to just give what I have? Because
give what you have. You got about a minute. We're at 45, so I'll cut you off when we're at like 40.
So
give her.
So we're gonna take the Mavs plus 8.5 because they're playing the Suns again, and they blew the game against the Suns, and the Suns are rolling. They only lost by 7. Now, I don't know Luka's day-to-day, so if he doesn't play, I'm just going to confirm here.
He's not going to play.
He's doubtful, so maybe we don't love it as much, but if it jumps up higher, we can consider because I think the Suns are kind of a hot and cold team, but that is not the best play. Take the Clippers. Clippers -3.5 against the Pelicans. People are calling the Rockets one of the worst teams in NBA history. The Pelicans without Zion are just as bad. I mean, they're god-awful. Jokic is a little banged up, so I love the Nuggets if he's playing at home against the Bulls who do not have Vucevic. If Jokic isn't good to go or is somehow a game time decision and maybe they're going to reserve him a little bit, then I think I like the Bulls a lot here getting 3 points. And then lastly, I'm going to take the Lakers in a bounce back situation. We're going with the away dogs here. All these lines are super close, but we'll go Clippers, Lakers, a little LA parlay there. And I'm going to go Bulls, but if Jokic is okay, I'm taking the Nuggets and I'm going Jokic triple double because he's the only thing they got right now. So
it's true. All right, you cram that in. Not bad. We do have to get out of here. I'll give you one prop. Kristaps Porzingis, since you mentioned the Mavs, 20.5 over at DraftKings is plus 100. He has had over 20 points in 4 straight games. Luka is not going to play. And DeAndre Hopkins this week also not going to play. If you're a Hopkins owner and you're up near the top, I think that's good news. You want him healthy for your playoff run. Tino, thanks a lot. Everybody hanging out, thanks a lot. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.